Hey guys, working today on something for winterization. We're trying something different this year to make sure that we don't have any drafts coming through our windows. This is something that I bought personally. It's a little Craig pocket hole jig, and I have a marker in there. And essentially, this is going to allow me to make some nice wood frames to go around our windows inside our RV. So I've taken some measurements already of the windows in the slide here, and these windows are a little over 4 feet by a little over 2 feet. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to create a window frame that is 4 feet by 2 feet, so I can get some plexiglass and cover up that entire space. I'm holding my phone and throwing it around in your face here. Now, in order to do this properly, we do have to account for the window controls, so the emergency exit handle, as well as the knob that opens up the other side of the window, because these kind of flip in and out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a frame that goes around the window that kind of sticks to the wall, and then a subframe that goes on top of that. That should give me just enough space to get past those controls, and then I'll be able to put that plexiglass on perfectly flat. I'm going to be using 1x3 and 1x4 pine stock to make these frames. I'll show you kind of how I put them together. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to get started. I'll put some measurements down in the description of how big these pieces are, so that if you want to try the same project, you'll have the information you need to make it right. Now, this is a project that you can probably manage with some basic hand tools. I do have an electric jigsaw, access to an electric jigsaw here, so I will be using this guy to do my cuts, just to save me a little bit of time. Certainly you could handle this with just some hand tools. So my first cut is going to be off of a 1x3, and the 1x3s are going to be 49 1/8 wide. The frame is just about 49 inches, so I'm going to go with 49 1/8 to give me a little bit of wiggle room in case there's any problems, you know, any variation in the width. Okay, so those are going to be my cross braces. Now I need to get the vertical, I'll call them stiles, kind of like in the door, stiles and rails. So these need to be these need to be 27.5 plus the height of these rails. So I'll first measure out my 27.5, and I'm going to need to make 2 of these. So I'm going to kind of lay this out real quick. And so this base frame is going to go up against the bottom of the window to the top, or the bottom of the window to the bottom of our cabinets. So what I want to do is I want to make these fit, and then it's not going to reach all the way to the top, because I want just enough space to fit the window in here. So this is as close to the window as I can get. This additional height is going to allow me to hang the valance that we have right into this wood. So if you've never seen how one of these works, it's got a little jig here that's going to allow us to drill a hole kind of into the edge of here, so that the screw pops out the middle of this piece, and it'll bite into the side of this this other piece of wood. So that is why I have this thing. Kind of slides on and allows us to line things up, and you can set the depth of your lumber. Basically, just clamp it down, and then when you drill in, it's going to put the hole into the right spot. And then it's got this special drill bit that has a shoulder on it, so that's where the head of the screw is going to sit, and this is the part that's going to hold the shaft of the screw. And then it's got a stop collar so that you don't drill through the end, and there's still plenty of lumber to hold the screw tight. It does have a little gauge inside the case that says if you are drilling a hole and you're going into 5/8 or 3/4 inch, just kind of push the shoulder all the way up. This particular kit costs, I don't know, maybe, well, I'll just put the price on screen and link it down below. This particular kit also comes with a 6-inch Robertson drive. Comes with everything that you need to do a successful join, and it just kind of works like this. So get your drill on high speed for wood. You've got 2 nice holes where the screws are going to be able to sit down into this pocket. And as an example, so you can see what happens, and then it's going to pop out the side like that. So it's at a bit of an angle, and ultimately it's going to make sure that every hole is drilled so that you don't poke through the other side. So pretty cool idea. I love this thing. There you have it, a nice solid joint. But I'm going to continue this process and get the rest of this base frame put together. Alright, so the next thing that I'm going to do is make the actual plexiglass frame, and what I want to do is make it so that a 24-inch sheet will reach from the bottom, because I want to make sure that it covers the handles, like the escape handle and the rotating handle, up to about 1 inch into the top of the frame. So that's going to hold it in place. I'm going to flip it over and drive the rest of the nails in from the other side. So why did I choose this? I think it's going to create an additional air barrier. I am going to also caulk the outside of the thing so that there's no air infiltration too. So this is just a second layer. A couple of nails should hold it until this stuff really dries. This is instant grab, so it shouldn't take long. So far, pretty happy with it. I'm going to run a bead of caulk against all the joints and everything and get a nice tight air seal. I've gotten these frames installed. Now, I got kind of in a rush, so I didn't get great footage of it. So what I did was I used like instant nails or construction adhesive on the back side of this and did like a wavy pattern on it just to get really good coverage on it. And then to provide some additional support, I just used some finish nails. Now, on this particular rig, you'll notice I've got a couple of nails here that I bent like crazy. There is an aluminum frame behind this, so I did end up drilling through the wood and then driving the nails in basically all the way around, just kind of pilot holes so that it would pierce that aluminum if it was there, and then just nail the rest of the nails in. Once this frame is installed, it gives us the appropriate clearance that we need down at the bottom so that the plexiglass can fit, you know, perfectly flush or above, out of the way. The handles aren't in the way, and it's not going to cause any problems. So the next thing to know, and if I had read the instructions first, go figure, I didn't read. You want to have your joints as flat as possible. So now that I've got you in a little bit closer, you can see that this end is quite misaligned. I'm going to want to make this lip as flat as I possibly can, taper it out a little bit so that I'm not putting too much strain on the plexiglass or the adhesives or any of that stuff. I'm not really good with the chisel, so if you have any tips on different ways to make my life easier with a chisel, let me know down in the comments below. So what I'm trying to do is just kind of keep the blade of this chisel as close to flat as possible while still providing a little bit of a cut. And I'm just shaving off little bits, as you can see. Now I find sense of touch rather than sight is kind of the best way to figure out how it feels. The tips of your fingers are way more sensitive than one might think to feel kind of some of the divots and stuff that you might have in here. I think I'm going to be okay with that because I am going to sand this down too. So I'm going to camera off while I finish up the rest of the four corners, and then we'll show you what it's going to be like when we sand. All right, so I've sanded everything to get it nice and smooth. I used a 60 grit and then an 80 grit and then a 220 to get it nice and smooth, and then wiped it down with a wet paper towel to get all the sawdust and stuff off. Now we're getting ready for stain, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of mask this off so I don't stain the walls like crazy. I found this at the Home Depot. It is Bear's Stain and Polyurethane in one, and it's water-based, so it's supposed to dry in an hour or so before you can do your next coat. So that is what we're going to be using. And surprisingly enough, if you're familiar with the way that stain and polyurethane normally smell, this has none of that. So even though we're working in an enclosed space, I don't feel like I'm going to be overwhelmed by the smell, which is a wonderful thing. Based on the fact that it takes like an hour to dry, it's going to make this job a lot faster than if I tried to use a traditional stain. Now, I would not recommend trying to do the staining with a traditional stain inside. So if you're going to use some other color that this does not come in, then certainly you want to make sure that you're doing that outside. Well, that's where I'm going to stop this video. Obviously, it's a much different scene than what we had in the rest. But video's getting kind of long, so I'm going to stop it here. I think it's a good stopping point. Next time, we'll talk about exactly how we get the plexiglass on. So thanks for watching this, guys. Let me know what you think so far in the comments down below, and we'll see you next time.